What is going on, all of you amazing gamers out there in the world? I am MegaAmpster. Thank you for checking out this YouTube video, whether you are a new or returning viewer. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I apologize for the camera change. There was an issue going on with my other camera, so I switched to the old one for now until I get that resolved. But yes, so this video I wanted to originally talk about. This was actually a video idea I started coming up with after the Xbox Developer Direct in January of 2024. And I figured, you know what, let's expand this into a bigger video idea, kind of talking about going over some of the highlights and highlights, good and bad, of some gaming presentations over time. Now, we're going to go do a bunch of different stuff here. I'm going to try to keep it not super duper long. I will say a lot of this will be Nintendo focused, but I tried to throw in some PlayStation and Xbox stuff there as well. But first, we're going to start with what happened before E3, because of course E3 was known as the big presentation, at least for me growing up. But before that, we had Space World, and I got to give a shout out to all these YouTube channels here. Shout out to Adam Dory for 8 months ago uploading all of this, like almost an hour of Nintendo Space World 2000 footage. So we're just gonna take a look through here, and this was before E3. This was an event that these companies used to hold or used to attend. And Nintendo had some booths. This is their booth from 2000, it looks like. So this would have been, there were earlier ones as well. This would have been a couple years before the GameCube launched. So the N64 was already out. I don't know what they got going on here. I've never watched this footage. This is the first time I'm seeing it. But definitely, you can see there we are. Yep, the GameCube's being unveiled to the public. I don't know if this was the first unveiling, but it was probably, honestly, probably was, because GameCube launched in 2001. Maybe they had talked about it the year prior, but and this is where, okay. So if any of you remember seeing this, okay, this is where that demo of, before the Wind Waker reveal happened. This was post Ocarina of Time. I think post Majora. I don't know if Majora's Mask was out at that point. Luigi's Mansion. Listen to the music in the background, though. They're hyping it up. I don't know if this was the first reveal of that game, but they definitely had some interesting stuff going on. Trying to think if there's anything else here. Miyamoto's up here on stage. So originally, and I didn't go into this part of it, but they originally used to have consumer electronics show. I did not look that up for this video. Sorry about that. Where that was very much focused on like talking to business investors. Where you can see Space World is a much more public facing show to get people excited about the console. Miyamoto's chilling. Who took this footage? I love it. This is great though. This is amazing historical information. So once again, shout out to, maybe it's Kikizo, but the YouTube channel for uploading that. If any of you have heard of Mario 128, there you go. Showing off the power of the GameCube. Something with Pokemon here. Was this supposed to be Pokemon Stadium 3 or something? I've never seen that before. LucasArts, they're showing off what seems to be maybe like Rogue Squadron or something. Feel free to correct me in the comments below. And showing off the Game Boy Advance. So like there was some cool footage back in the day, but E3 was not the first one. So just to kind of correct anybody who may have thought E3 was the first one, there you go. It was clearly not. There was Consumer Electronics Show before this, and then of course Space World. But then we did get into E3. Now I do want to dive into this a little bit. This is a actually really good Washington Post article. Feel free to check them out if you're interested, talking about the origin and evolution of E3. And I did not realize this, but apparently, right, so the early 90s was the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Got to pass through the porn section. Porta potties and no real food. Yeah, I remember, if any of you are curious about old like Nintendo or Sega history, definitely check out the book Console Wars. I really, really enjoy that book. Talking about Tom Kalinske. But yeah, these presentations were a big deal, especially during that rivalry era of Nintendo versus Sega. Now, apparently, E3, also Electronic Entertainment Expo, it's a long way to say it, started apparently in 1995, which I did not realize that it started that early, which is interesting. So it means that at some point, Space World and E3 were happening, in the same year, which is kind of interesting to think about, in the Los Angeles Convention Center. Yeah, Las Vegas, Los Angeles and then Las Vegas, which is definitely interesting here. But yeah, they had multiple different presentations at the time, and then E3 gained momentum leading into the early 2000s. Not even smooth in 1997. They were undergoing renovations. Okay. So yeah, this is a really good article. Definitely check out this this article here. I'll try to leave a link to it in the description below. But we got some good moments out of early E3 days. Of course, very popular one is the reveal of Smash Brothers Melee at the E3 2021. Sorry, 2021. 2001 presentation, not 2021. No, Melee HD in 2021, maybe, but sorry, it didn't happen. But this was a huge deal. You get the crowd reaction with this too, which I love. Like, people can tell it's definitely Smash Brothers related. Because if you think about it, Smash Brothers 64 would have come out 99, so a couple of years before this. So, and then you show Link, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, like, yeah, people freaking out. You love to see their reaction. The new different characters, seeing new characters like Bowser and Peach there. Samus and Ridley. People probably thought Ridley was going to be playable back then. Alas, he was not. Took many more years. Took pretty much 2 decades later. But yeah, like, obviously this was a big deal back then. I'm trying to see if there's any other character reveals here. Doesn't seem like it. But yeah, I mean, this was a huge deal back when this first showed up. So, you know, the big reactions were not exclusive to newer presentations for sure. You know, these have been going on forever. People have been getting excited about games forever. And another case in point for that, we got to go into, what was it, 2004 E3, I believe. This reaction is wild. Shout out to Reggie Fils-Aimé over here. This was a huge deal. I mean, and this is back when they used to have booths. They would construct these big booths. They did it for a while with E3, right? Very elaborate booths. The ones I was most familiar with were some of the later booths. So like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate themed one, the Breath of the Wild themed one. I remember seeing footage, but this was such a big deal. Such a big deal, because you got to remember, this was also coming off the heels of Twilight Princess, which a lot of people at the time were not a fan of the art style, the cartoony art style. So seeing a more realistic game, almost like an Ocarina of Time in full HD, seeing it on the big screen like this, people were super excited. You know, even though I would have been, what, 7 years old at the time of this presentation, I did not know anything about Zelda at that point. Like, you could just feel the energy, even from this kind of crude recording. So, oh yeah. Anyways, shout out to Chopper for uploading this, and shout out to Nintendo Pro for the other one. So yeah, definitely early E3 was definitely an interesting vibe. I put this out of order. Give me 1 second. Of course, though, Nintendo can't win every time, right? They can't win every time. I know I'm skipping a lot. I'm jumping around, but you know, I gotta spread it out a bit here. We gotta go over the Wii music performance from E3 2008. Man, this is so funny to watch. Shout out to Scott Boyd for uploading this. The infamous Wii music presentation. Now, the Wii was super popular, but I also feel like the Wii wasn't a great console to demonstrate because of the motion controls it relied on. So for demoing it, it was definitely not ideal. All right. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Miyamoto. All right, here we go. Good stuff. Everybody's favorite game. It's like, imagine getting a bunch of people on here. Listen, they were not all wins. They were not all wins, but it's funny in hindsight. Bill's playing the cowbell? Or no, Miyamoto's playing the cowbell. All right. All right, get the whole gang together. Yeah, you know, let's get this part. Definitely was rough. They're trying. They're a little offbeat, but look at the people trying to play. Like, the guy on the trumpet, I'm sorry, I can't. They're having fun, but it's just the guy in the drums. I love the guy in the drums. It's just like, oh, it's not a good game to present. What are you doing here? Is this it? No. Oh, maybe this is it. Okay. I'm gonna skip this for now. This was also not a great game to demonstrate here. Shout out to Zelda Skyward Sword YouTube channel. Good job for uploading this gameplay, of course, from Skyward Sword in 2011 when the game released on the Wii. And this was 2020. This was 2010.
Bill, that's not right. What? You've got to hold the shield more like a shield. Wait. And the sword like this. Ow.
So the Miyamoto comes out. It doesn't work for Bill, but then it also isn't going to work for Miyamoto. You could, it's just like kind of working, but it's such a bad game to demonstrate. Like, E3's tough because, like, there were some years that were really exciting, some years that weren't as exciting. I will say, like, there were some presentations where they didn't really flaunt it too much. You know, we're so used to gaming presentations being super hype now, but you definitely had some low moments like this where, granted, they did show demos off of gameplay, so it was a little more organic, right? But at the same time, it's like it's not really the best situation to present some of these games, you know. And this is another infamous moment with the Wii. Just the Wii in general was not great hardware to showcase off for sure. He's kind of getting it, but definitely this probably soured some people on the game. We got to get into some good Sony stuff though here. This video, this came out of what, E3 2010 maybe?
This is how you share your games on PS4.
After the whole infamous Xbox thing, they were throwing shade. I believe this was E3. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong.
Thanks.
They were throwing shade after what, the Xbox One situation where they Xbox had announced you couldn't share games like that. They're just throwing shade at each other. Oh, why did I put this back here? Sorry, these are completely out of order. We got to talk about Giant Enemy Crab. We got to talk about Giant Enemy Crab. That is another classic E3 moment.
Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles actually
Keep
took
that in mind.
place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
I'm sorry, that's so good. It's just, oh, it's so good. And they like to make fun of themselves, you know.
Octodad Dadliest Catch will stagger awkwardly on a PlayStation 4.
Like here, they're
Now,
making
although
fun of
historically
themselves.
accurate, this game does not contain giant enemy crabs.
Like, you know, they're poking fun at themselves. It's kind of a fun time, but it's definitely, there's some hits and misses. You know, when you have those live presentations, there's always going to be hits. There's always going to be misses. It really depends on, I feel like they were very varied back then. But then, you know, talk about another miss. Don't worry. Xbox will have a hit later. The whole Xbox One presentation. This,
Content, home of Xbox. Entertainment.
oh, this is an edited version. Oh, man.
Hardware, software,
Don
services.
Matrick, what did he do?
Ladies and gentlemen,
TV.
introducing Xbox One.
Wait, what? Oh, okay. I don't know what that was. That was weird.
And deliver breakthrough innovation.
Definitely.
SEAL Team Service Dog.
What the heck? This is funny. But yeah, definitely some bad highlights from the TV situation. Yep.
Yes, that fast. Did you see
You can
it?
watch TV that fast. That's what the gamers want to hear. It's just, you know, and Phil Spencer has quoted this presentation being like, this is single-handedly, you know, losing this generation was bad for them, you know, because of this whole focus on TV, media, the Connect,
Oh, nice. Here's my
Bing.
trainer, Tyson Chandler.
Like, literally, they're not even going over games here. What is that?
When you're exercising, it can read
Oh, this is the Connect. All right. Where's the pug? I want to see the pug. What?
When you're exercising,
Oh, okay.
Living worlds will fundamentally
Wasn't part of the presentation. Then they go into
change
some
the way
gaming
you
and stuff, like some sports games. I don't know. Definitely kind of missed a bit there, Microsoft. I don't know why they showed off some of that stuff there. I did not own an Xbox One, but I also just didn't really care. But I mean, this presentation, word of mouth, did not help them in this generation at all. It's definitely, with these presentations, it's like you need to know your audience. And this was a case of them not knowing their audience, you know? Now, okay. This is kind of where the new era of presentations came in, because we can't talk about gaming presentations without talking about Nintendo Directs. Now, the first Nintendo Direct, some of you may not know, this one dates back to October 2011. That might not be the very first one, but it was sometime around 2011, around little after the 3DS launched. They had really old presentations during this. So we can go through here and kind of look at some of these. They date back to a while, and the early ones were rough. So they were like very dry. Some of them had cute skits though, especially when Iwata was part of them.
I'm Reggie from Nintendo of
What's up, Reggie from Nintendo of America?
Maybe most
And it's
noteworthy
literally just
is
him.
the
It's
addition
only 7
of
minutes,
Hulu
but it's
Plus
him just
service,
sitting here
which is coming soon
and
to
talking
Wii
about
and Nintendo
Hulu
3DS.
Plus. No way. Like
Holiday
literally
family gatherings
just Reggie sitting in
and
front of a
art
TV.
production
What was that?
is
Was that
on the
Metroid
way.
Other M?
It's the Thriller song.
Did I see
Your
Metroid Other
bubbly
M?
creature
The Thriller
in
song.
Any shape you want.
Is that
Add
Dylan's Rolling
eyes,
Western,
arms,
maybe?
Legs, wings, any
A quick little
Bill
interview?
Iwata asks
Mario Kart
and race
7.
against up to 7
More
Little
Skyward
concert
Sword.
begins tonight
So yeah, this
at
was
the Blank
definitely
Pages
an
Theater.
interesting shift for Nintendo. I'm trying to remember when the first digital E3 they had. That might have been 2014, 2013. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But um, originally, when Nintendo Direct started, they were just very much, yeah, pre E3 2012. Okay, so this was a pre E3 Direct. Um, so it was either 2013 or 14 where they started doing the digital E3s. Um, in terms of the presentations, and they could have more control. That was a big thing where they could have more control over the content, and they could edit stuff, and the demos would not be as bad as if you do a live demo on stage. Less room for error. um Rest in peace, Awada-san. Good to see you here. Hello, Awada-san.
almost entirely
And then obviously they're kind of talking about the Wii U here, talking about some of the hardware, but it's so low key. It's such a different vibe. And it's just a Wada talking in front of a camera. This guy, okay, this is a bit of a trailer.
If I don't beat this zombie boss, I'm gonna end up talking to myself like a crazy person.
It was such a
What?
different
No
vibe for
specific
Nintendo
action
Direct.
figure?
I've seen that guy before somewhere. Where have I
It's
seen
so
that
sad.
action figure? And it's just like all these random trailers.
around the game.
Zombie U, I'm guessing, is what this is.
Even
Talking about the different Miiverse features. Rest in peace, Miiverse, too.
more empathy.
But like back then, it wasn't that involved. Like it was very, it was so low key. And then fast forward to later, they had a Sega Direct. Okay, this I didn't even know. Hold on, no, we gotta look into this. They had the Pokemon Directs. Hold on, what is this Sega Direct? Now I'm wondering, what did they show off? Is that a Yakuza game? What was this on? What was that on? Oh, Wii U. 1 and 2 HD for Wii U. Didn't realize those games were on Wii U. This is so weird. Oh my god, in the background there. And it was literally just like a few Sega games. The Hatsune Miku one. Oh, wait, was it the Dreamcast collection? What is it? Or what is this? Oh, sorry. Olympic Games. I don't know why I thought that was the Dreamcast collection. I was going to say that did not come to Nintendo platforms, but definitely such a weird vibe. They had a lot of specific ones even back in the day. And I mean, they kept that tradition going over time. Definitely, I feel like there was a turning point around 2013, 2014, where Nintendo Direct started to gain more hype. And like as Nintendo did these digital presentations, more people were tuning in, more people were catching on. They were, definitely. Oh, this was the Little Mac reveal. This was the Little Mac reveal one for Smash 4. Where they started to really capitalize on the hype in these presentations. And Nintendo really laid the groundwork for them, starting to do like rapid fire game announcements in all of these. Ooh, Yoshi's New Island, a little rough. Steel Battalion, talking about all their current games. And obviously, being the edited footage, there's a lot more you can, you can control there. Shovel Knight, oh, Yacht Club, I saw Yacht Club in there. Yacht Club was showing off Shovel Knight at the time. This was just before Shovel Knight dropped for the first time. Like, yeah, there was definitely, you can see how over time these got more and more focused on like rapid fire announcements and like capitalizing on the hype. The original Nintendo Directs were almost just like business updates that they would just like not even announce ahead of time. They would upload to their website. Whereas then, the more time went on, Nintendo realized like, oh, Splatoon game overview. Here we go. So they really started to get into a groove more of like, okay, people are actually tuning into these and are getting excited about these. Let's keep them interested.
Ink flowing like a torrential
Oh, this is so
Science
weird.
is
This is so
beautiful.
weird to see the OG Splatoon being talked
Shape
about
of
in a
the
presentation
path
like
between
this.
these areas.
This was just after the game, just before the game came out too. The
Squid
game
should
came out not long
especially
after
watch
this,
out for
but
the
they went
path
into a little bit of a
connected to Center Plaza.
overview here
Gets messy there.
with some cool stuff. Tumblr,
Next,
rest in
we'll
peace,
examine
Tumblr.
Salt Spray Rig. This danger zone is
It's
known
just,
for the large
like
cat.
over time, like they would focus on specific games, they would get hyped. Of course, that one was a hype one. The 2015 one was pretty fun. Well, the 2016 one I think was pretty rough if I remember correctly. But, then they started to really get into it. And especially with the Switch era is where they really started to hone in on the hype. Because with the Wii U and 3DS, there was still a little bit of that awkwardness to it. But once they got into the Switch era, especially,
Download
That
called
was
Maker
honestly
Player will
nuts. Oh, we
also
got to
be
talk about. Hold
available
on.
in
No, we got to
Nintendo
talk
eShop.
about.
It lets anyone play the RPGs you make with RPG Maker
Is the
Plus.
Nintendo
Whether
presentation
you
not
own
included
the
here?
full
The Switch
game or
presentation?
not,
I guess it's
you
not.
can wield the full power of this
Um,
incredible tool by purchasing the
where's the
standard or limited
E3
edition
presentation?
when
I
they
figured
launch
it
in
would have
the
been
US.
included in. Oh, this was the ARMS deep dive, right? I figured they would have been included here, but over time, and we don't have to go fully through every single one of these. But there was just so many Nintendo Directs, but they even had like the game focused ones like way back in the day, when they first started these out, and of course over time, it just spawning different Pokemon presentations, and of course Smash Ultimate in particular, and Smash Four got a lot of their own presentations over time, and the 35th anniversary for Mario. There's so many different directs that now that yeah, and the partner showcase as of now, this is the most recent one. Just like the evolution of Nintendo Directs is interesting because the focus on the hype of game announcements compared to what it first started off as. Because E3 was always a hype in-person presentation, and then going through and like all of a sudden being like, oh, Nintendo's doing these like digital updates. Like they were just updates when they first started, very casual, not even that long, and like maybe a game or two, or just literally talking about hardware, whatever it was. But, then they started to catch on, people started to pay attention, fans started to get excited, and then all of a sudden, you start focusing on hype-related stuff, game announcements, and, like, just filling these with games, and so now we're at the point where we're kinda spoiled because we have so many rapid-fire games announced in a given amount of time, and the editing has just gotten so concise and so fluid. Um, so we couldn't talk about this without talking about the Nintendo Directs here because they inspired Sony, Microsoft, other companies to do their own presentations. And before we finish up here, we got one more big part after this, but of course, we got the developer directs, which were in part inspired by the Nintendo Directs, and really the main reason why I was making this video to talk about this format because this format to me feels quite refreshing. I know I made a separate video talking about this format. Feel free to check it out on the channel if you're interested. I really like Xbox's approach with these because it feels unique. It's focusing on the people behind these games. It's not, it's not just like rapid fire announcements. It's a little more of a deep dive into, like 4 to 5 games, like 5 games or so, and a bit more of a deep dive. You get to see some of the people behind it, so which I personally appreciate. I know a lot of gamers won't necessarily care about that, but I do like seeing some of the people behind the games, even though this is far from seeing everybody, right? But I think this is a really cool way to have this, and it kind of allows each game to breathe. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. I know people like in this one from 2024, for example, people weren't super thrilled about Avowed and how that showed off. I personally did not care about the Aura History Untold, but then like you get games like Indiana Jones, which people were very excited to see in presentation format. Also, you get the Visions of Mana game from Square Enix, which was definitely an interesting poll for this presentation. So these are definitely stand out, and I hope Xbox continues to do more of these in the future. And of course, with PlayStation, we got the state of plays. So they also have the PlayStation showcases, which I still don't fully know the difference. Sony fans, let me know in the comments below how different those truly are. I know there is a bit of a difference, but even here you can see not as many games as Nintendo Directs because those go really deep in. But here you get still quite a few games. Going to Helldivers, Stellar Blade, going over that was a big deal. Sonic Crush Out of Generations got announced here, which was, of course, for me, exciting. But like just a bunch of first party and third party games. Silent Hill 2, the remake for that game. Rise of the Ronin, and pretty much, taking their own spin on the Nintendo Direct presentation. Personally, and maybe I'm just biased towards Xbox because I own an Xbox, but I feel like these are less unique than Nintendo Directs. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but like, I don't know, these just feel kind of similar to Nintendo Directs for me. Sometimes just not as good, but like the developer directs at least, which I mean aren't great. I'll give them that. They have some areas to improve upon. I still feel like they're definitely unique enough from just the regular Nintendo Direct format. So, but this has just kind of become standard for a lot of companies. Now that E3's gone for good, as of now, we're gonna see only digital presentations. And I mean, like to be honest, like going to E3, I've talked to some people about this. Like once it opened up to the public, I hear that like it used to be just an industry thing. I hear that once it opened up to the public, it got worse. But like I've talked to friends and people I know about like, oh, like I really would have loved to go to E3 one day. And I used to have that dream. And then I realized, you know what? Like, first of all, there's other conventions. Second of all, E3 supposedly got even worse and more crowded. I mean, of course, when you invite more people from the public, and also we can get great announcements just from these digital presentations where companies have more control over what they show, which is can be good or bad. There's definitely pros and cons to it. There could be some bad things they're hiding. There could be some things that, like, for example, Skyward Sword would have demoed so much better if it was a pre-recorded thing and they could edit it, But unfortunately, it was just in that live demo. But before we end this video off for good, I promise, I want to talk about the Game Awards because this was a big deal currently, and especially in a non E3 setting with like in person game announcements. Like the Game Awards is kind of a replacement. They also have Summer Games Fest, but the Game Awards are the big ones because they also talk about award shows. But I will say, like, so I've never seen this. This is the first Game Awards in 2014.
And we, each one of us,
And even back then, they still had some game announcements. It definitely, yeah, obviously the world premiere started way back when. I guess so. Jeff Keighley originally was hosting, I believe it was the Spike Awards, is what it used to be called. I did not look up into that for this. That's funny. Oh, From Software revealing Bloodborne. Is that what this is? That's wild. So definitely was an interesting vibe. I mean, you could kind of feel like, like there was definitely a bigger focus on the reveals even back then, and less so on the awards. But I feel like it's only gotten worse over time. I honestly feel like it's only gotten worse over time. Oh, was that Kid Rock? Who was that? But they're still going over some stuff. GTA 5, maybe? Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War? Okay, Shadow of Mordor. Cool. Got a reveal there. Yeah, like I said, I've never seen this, but they did it at a live performance. Dragon Age Inquisition. Nice back then. So, that part's carried over. But I feel like over time, it's gotten very Hollywoodified, for a lack of a better term, when it comes to, the Game Awards. I don't know. Like, and then this clip, I had to share this clip. Had to. It makes this more ironic. It makes this more ironic.
Look at me, man. How do I look?
How do I look? Let's go, Joseph Fares. I love this man. I'm so glad he won Game of the Year 2021 with It Takes Two.
I'm so passionate to be here.
And we got to see this. All right, where's the clip? Is it this? Can you swear here?
Fuck the Oscars, Fuck the Oscars. Fuck you. I'm telling you.
This clip, this is what, 2017 maybe? Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, is even more ironic when you consider just how much like Hollywood the Game Awards have started to mimic, So there, you get a lot of stuff. The pre-show's solid. There are a lot of announcements here, but it's just like a lot of it is just very much Hollywood-esque and just focused on like big budget stuff. And oh, don't even get me started on the whole Kojima section. But like getting like celebrities to come up, like Matthew McConaughey being on stage made no sense. I don't know. It's just like it's just become very Hollywoodified. And this was the year that they were like trying to rush people off stage, And it was just, I don't know, man. I'm definitely not as big of a fan of this style of presentation from Jeff Keighley here, and especially because some of the speakers really aren't great, But it's interesting to have the in person like live events, which are fun to have. I'm not a big fan of how much Jeff focuses on the Hollywood side of things, but it's just kind of where we're at, With E3 fully gone, this is really our big live event option. We've got Summer Games Fest in the summer to kind of try to replace E3. I don't know if it ever will. And then, this in December. But, kind of looking back on it, I don't know. Obviously, the gaming industry has gotten huge over time. Like with Space World, early E3 days, gaming wasn't nearly as big as it is now. And it's interesting to kind of take a look back and, kind of appreciate some of the older stuff that we had because it wasn't really bougie and like all like, glamored up as much as it is now, I feel like. Um, I will say though, I do really enjoy Nintendo Directs and like those kind of presentations now that are a lot more rapid fire to the point. There's usually a lot of variety in presentations because they fit so many game announcements in. So I do honestly, I think prefer those style of presentations over like, the early presentations they used to have, I mean, to be fair, I didn't grow up with a lot of these, but taking a look back, it's interesting to see how companies used to handle these presentations and kind of now they're lean towards like really getting invested in the hype. The Game Awards is just the same thing compared to what it used to be, which was just kind of more informational and still exciting. But definitely, I mean, they've really capitalized on the hype over time. And it's just like, we're kind of spoiled now to the point where like certain presentations that we call kind of mid now are probably pretty common like a decade ago, if not more, you know? So it's definitely it's interesting to see where companies have kind of hit and miss too. You know, it's no company's perfect, right? And I mean, yeah, like everybody is gonna trip up, everybody's gonna make a mistake and not read your audience correctly at some point or other. But there were some bad ones, there were some great ones, you know, definitely interesting to kind of take a look back, which is kind of why I made this video. But with that, this video is half an hour long. I know I glossed over so much stuff, but I mean, this video is long enough as it is. I just kind of wanted to take a look back at some of these and reflect on them. So let me know if you have any favorite gaming presentation moments in the comments below. Are you sad E3's gone? Are you excited for Summer Games Fest and the Game Awards? Do you like the direction that Nintendo Directs are heading in? And what about, Sony State of Plays or showcases? Or Xbox developer directs. Let me know what you think about all these in the comments below. Otherwise, hey, I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, everybody, take care. Keep on gaming.